Yo, welcome to Smokey J's Barbecue channel. On this channel, it's going to be everything Traeger, smoke and cook, anywhere from tri-tips, ribs, chicken, steaks, brisket, everything. Today we're going to start with a tri-tip. We are going to be smoking it and then turning up the heat at the end to sear it on both sides. With a tri-tip, there's silver skin that we need to remove. Now, depending on where you get your tri-tip from, the cut of meat can either have the silver skin still attached, or the butchers can take it off for you beforehand. With this one, this is the case. Now, this tri-tip that we're going to be cooking today already has the silver skin removed. There's a little bit of the membrane still here, so we want to make sure we trim that off and also trim off some of this fat, but a little fat is always good. I've gone ahead and already trimmed the fat off, so we didn't have to watch me do that. But I'm gonna go ahead and rub it down with some olive oil and we'll just get right into it. Now, when you're trimming your meat, seasoning it, getting it ready to cook, I find it's better at room temperature rather than just coming straight out of the fridge. Seems like it smokes or cooks a little bit better. You can use any, if you have a homemade rub that you like to use, or a marinade. I usually just use this Traeger beef rub. What we'll be rubbing it down with, but let's get this massaged in with this olive oil. And then we'll season it. I like to get the grill going after I've seasoned it, give it some time to sit and absorb these spices in this rub. Now, a lot of the times if you're following a recipe, it'll tell you, how much seasoning or how much rub to use. I like to just put it on myself, or I like to just put it on, cover the whole thing, and when I feel like that's enough, then we leave it at that. I just pat down that rub so it stays in there rather than fall off when I flip it over. So once we get this covered up, we'll go outside and fire the smoker up. Tell you a little bit about what settings I like to use, what heat I like to use. We'll talk about how long this is going to smoke for. Once we've smoked it, and smoke about an hour, hour and a half, and then we'll crank it up to 500 and sear it on both sides. Now, I've done quite a few of these tri-tips. I haven't had one come out dry yet. It's always juicy, flavorful, tastes good. So I just follow these same steps each time that I've cooked this. I do like to try different methods, try different recipes, but this is kind of one of those things that if it's working, I'm gonna stick to it because everybody seems happy with it. All right, we're gonna let this sit for a little bit while we get that grill fired up. Okay, so we're gonna turn on the power. Like I said, this is an Ironwood 650. They have some bigger ones, but it's got the Wi-Fi technology, which is really nice. Being able to control, from your phone inside, look at recipes while it's going. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off on 180. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and turned the grill on to 180 with super smoke. We're gonna turn that on and just give this a little bit to heat up. We'll bring that meat out. Okay, we're outside now. Gonna just run down a few things to show you. We are using hickory pellets with the tri-tip today. Now, I haven't tried every meat with every variation of pellets out there, but I have tried a few different ones and experimented, and I found that hickory works best with beef, particularly this tri-tip as well. But we've gone ahead and preheated the Traeger to 180 degrees with the super smoke on. I feel that that's an ideal temperature for what we're doing, for what we're following with this tri-tip. We're gonna smoke it for maybe an hour, hour and a half. You can smoke it as long as you want, you know, and then we're gonna crank up the heat to 500 and sear it on both sides. Now, when I say you can smoke it as long as you want, I see a lot of recipes that say that. You can smoke it as long as you want, and then, you know, well, how do I know if I'm doing this for the first time? 130 degrees internal temperature is where you want to reach before we're going to sear it, about 4 minutes on each side. So I can smoke it for 30 minutes, smoke it for an hour, hour and a half, but 130 minutes when you take it out is going to be ideal to then sear both sides. So I'm just going to show you a couple things. What I like about this Ironwood series, and you know, I'm not too sure how many other Traegers have this, but if you look right here is is a spot where we can put the grate down here, or you can see on this there's a second level, and that's where I have it for now, so that when we smoke it, the smoke's going to be able to come underneath and have more air to breathe to smoke this meat. So let's get this meat on here. Ooh-wee! Okay, so now that we've got this tri-tip on here, I'll talk a little bit more about this grill grate. So I've got it on this second level that you can see while it goes through the smoking process, just so it can absorb more smoke rather than not get too much from the bottom. That's what I feel. But what we're gonna do is, once we've reached the time that we want to smoke it, let's just say I'm gonna do an hour and a half. So once an hour and a half passes, we're actually gonna remove the meat to be able to crank the grill up so that it's not cooking and we're missing our times. So what I'll do is, when I remove the meat, I'm actually gonna pull this grill grate out, and I'm gonna put it on this lower one to help with the searing, so that it's right on top of that heat. I don't know if that's what this is designed for, but that's what I use it for, and it works great for me. Another thing, when I got this Traeger, it seemed like it was pretty brand new, so when I went to YouTube to try and get some help, you know, get some ideas on how to use it, how to cook the meat, this one operates and has different features than maybe the older ones. There was a lot of videos about the older ones, so I was struggling to really find anything that was helping me out for what I was cooking on this grill. So if any of you have any questions on how to use something or need some help setting it up, feel free to ask out, because I was in those shoes and I had to kind of figure this thing out all by myself. So we're gonna close this down, and then we are gonna set this timer. We just hold this button for 3 seconds, and let's go ahead and set it for an hour. And then once an hour passes, we'll come take a look at it, and we can talk a little bit more about it. But again, we're using hickory pellets in here. We've got the super smoke on at 180 degrees. Now, you know, with the super smoke feature, it stops working at 225. So it'll still smoke after that, but like I said, the super smoke, it just stops at 225. I don't really know too much more about it other than it operates from 180 degrees to 225. So we're smoking at 180. We're gonna check it at an hour, decide if we want to go another half hour, and then we're gonna crank it up to 500. We'll take out the meat. We're gonna put that grill grate down, and then we're gonna sear the meat. So we'll check it back out in an hour. All right, so the timer just went off for an hour. Said we come check it at an hour, so let's take a look at it. Woo! Looking like it's been smoking for an hour. I'm gonna do another 30 minutes, and then we'll call it quits on the smoke at 30. So again, just simple. Hold down timer for 3 seconds. Set it for. We did 30 minutes, so yeah. We'll catch you another half hour. All right, so I just took the meat off. Hour and a half later, we smoked it at 180 degrees, super smoke. Just wanted to show about the grill grate here. So I mentioned how we're up on that upper level to smoke it. So now I'm going to drop it down. Drop it down on that bottom setting, and then cranked it up to 500 degrees. We're going to do about 4 minutes each side. So remember before when I was showing you we were up here, so that smoke can circulate a lot better underneath the meat. So now we're right on the bottom. This is going to get nice and hot so that we can sear that tri-tip. Okay, so this is what our tri-tip's looking like right now after smoking at 180 for an hour and a half. Traeger's been cranked up to 500, and we're ready to put it in. Oh yeah, hear that sizzle going on? Okay, now we are just gonna do 4 minutes aside. I mean, we're at 500 degrees, so it's not gonna take too long. And after we flip it over one time for the second side to cook, we're gonna put the probe in so that we're not gonna be, you know, in case it happens to be less than 4 minutes. I just want to talk for a minute here about the video, the channel. This is the first video I've ever made. First time I ever posted a video onto YouTube. I don't know all the tricks of the trade or ins and outs to trim the fat, or to, when I was seasoning the meat, would have liked to do one of those cool time-lapse videos, but I don't know how to do any of that yet. So, but what my goal is, whole reason for posting this was when I first got this Traeger, I never had a smoker before. I didn't know, how to cook, how to smoke anything. Big thing about this Ironwood 650 was the wire fire technology, the D2, the way that it vents, the super smoke. I didn't know anything, so when I started looking online on how to use it, how long do I smoke, a lot of people would say, oh, you just turn it to smoke and let it go for an hour and a half or 2 hours. But the smoke on this one starts at 180 and goes up to 225. The older models, there's literally a smoke setting. I don't know what temperature that is. I couldn't, I did all kinds of research. Couldn't really find a solid answer. Some thought it was maybe 180, some did say 225. So, through just trial and error, some pork loin shoulders was about the only thing that came out dry that I've done, and I've done quite a few meats, but just, couldn't really find anything through research. So my goal for this channel, the whole reason for creating this video, is I want to create like a community, of smokers. People can comment, different recipes, or I don't know if some of you can upload your videos underneath this channel. I don't know how it all works, but just kind of want to create a community. You know, everything Traeger, everything smoked, everything meats. We'll also cook on here. You know, I've baked on here before, some baked beans, made some awesome bacon, all kinds of stuff. But that's just my goal, to create a little community of helping new people with new smokers. So, you know, all the information's there on YouTube at their fingertips, and they don't have to search high and low, go through trial and error to, you know, produce something awesome. So hopefully the video works, you guys like it. I'll continue to post videos anytime I'm smoking anything or cooking on here. And you know, if you're new to the smoker, new to Traeger, and you know, have some questions, or you know, feel free to reach out if I've done a specific meat or something that you're trying to cook, and maybe I can have some tips and pointers. But we've just got about 20 seconds left on the 4 minutes for the one side for the 500. What I was talking about is we're gonna put this probe in. It feeds right through the side of the Traeger here, and you can stick it in the meat. So we do not want to overcook this. We want it to still be tender, juicy. So put this down here so we can see it. Okay, so that's just 4 minutes on this one side. We're gonna flip that over. I'm also gonna feed this probe in through the sides. We'll just close it down. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take this off the grill now. What we ended up doing was 4 minutes each side, 2 times. Now we're gonna take it inside and let it rest. All right, so we've let this meat rest underneath the foil for about 10 minutes. Now we're gonna cut into it and see what we're looking at. There we go. All right, so I mentioned we did 4 minutes each side 2 times. The reason for that is we didn't want to burn a side, but also just wanted to cook it until that internal temperature was 135, which is where we pulled it off. You can see as it rests underneath that foil, it'll still continue to warm up and cook a little bit, so you don't want to dry it out and overcook it at that point right there. So pulled it out at 135, let it rest for 10 minutes. You can see how tender that is. We're gonna put this meat on some sandwiches and have a tri-tip sandwich. So we've got fresh home-cooked rolls, some juicy tri-tip, a little bit of barbecue sauce, and a couple pickles. That's a good sandwich. All right, well, that's been the video on smoking a tri-tip on an Ironwood 650. We'll catch you later.